When a hungry beggar approached the owner of a fancy cafe, the cafe owner did something disgraceful to mock the beggar for asking for leftover food. But just one day later, the cafe owner received a harsh and swift punishment. Mr. Roberts' cafe was the beating heart of the city, where people gathered to enjoy a warm cup of coffee, fresh pastries, delicious cinnamon rolls, and the cafe owner's friendly smile. The cafe was located in the center of the town square, and thanks to the perseverance and dedication of his late father, what started as a small food truck when Mr. Roberts was 5 years old had turned into the most famous cafe in town. After his father's death, Mr. Roberts inherited the growing business and gave everything he had to make the restaurant successful. But over time, something changed inside him. He forgot his humble beginnings. As a result of his company's success, which gave him a sense of enjoyment, entitlement, and superiority, Mr. Roberts lost his sense of equality with those around him and began to look down on those beneath him, especially the poor. And to maintain his edge over the competition, his policy was to never make any donations to charities. One day, while Mr. Roberts was standing in the middle of his restaurant, he was worried about the outdated technology and the small space, and he understood that if he wanted to stay in the competition and attract new customers, he had to make changes. So he signed the mortgage papers for his property without thinking much, and spent all his money on new equipment and expanding the restaurant. Finally, Mr. Roberts opened his modern cafe, and he exhaled with a wide smile from ear to ear when his dream came true. He was very excited and proud when the contractors started demolishing the walls and installing new technical equipment. He was extremely enthusiastic about developing his company, and he was confident that nothing would stand in his way now or in the future. As the days went by, more and more satisfied customers started frequenting Mr. Roberts's cafe on one busy day. He smiled and said, "This is the taste of success," as he checked on his customers. He greeted a French family who regularly visited his restaurant, saying, "Bonjour, I hope you're having a good day." Then he tipped his hat. But as he turned back to look at the menu, a homeless man entered, dressed in torn and dirty clothes, his face filled with sadness. The man said, "Excuse me, sir," as he approached Mr. Roberts at the counter. "Could you spare me some food?" Mr. Roberts looked at him sharply and said, "How did you get in?" The man said, "Sir, I'm hungry. Could you give me something to eat? Maybe some leftovers?" Mr. Roberts replied angrily, "I'm not responsible for these charitable acts, nor do I contribute to feeding beggars. You wretch, get out of my cafe now." The man hugged his hungry stomach and looked down sadly before looking into my eyes again. Mr. Roberts said, "Excuse me, sir, it's been days since I've had a meal. Is there anything you can offer me? I'll take it. Please give me something to eat, even if it's just leftovers." After Mr. Roberts rolled his eyes back and wrinkled his nose in displeasure, he signaled to one of the servants to bring the leftovers. When the poor empty man saw Mr. Roberts gathering the leftover burgers, sandwiches, donuts, and sweets into a green garbage bag, his eyes shone with hope. The smell of the food was so strong that the hungry man couldn't resist it, and he started to drool. His stomach rumbled loudly, and he couldn't wait to dive into the food. However, Mr. Roberts turned and headed toward the trash can. As the man raised his weak hands to take the bag of food, Mr. Roberts threw the bag into the trash can, closed it defiantly, and shouted, "There you go, you fool! All the leftovers are yours from the garbage." The man swallowed in disappointment, while Mr. Roberts left the cafe feeling very proud, adjusting his tie and saying, "That should show him and teach him a lesson. How dare that filthy beggar enter my restaurant? And if another vagrant comes into my cafe, I'll fire you too," he shouted at the guards. Later that night, as Mr. Roberts was closing his eyes at his desk after reviewing some papers, he noticed a waitress gasping at the entrance. He said angrily, "Maria, what are you doing here like this? Can't you see I'm busy? And how dare you enter my office without knocking first?" The waitress said, breathing heavily, There's a fire." Mr. Roberts said nervously, "A fire? Where? Why is my restaurant burning?" The waitress replied, "Yes, you need to leave this place immediately." When Mr. Roberts smelled the burning wood, his heart started racing. He jumped from his chair and rushed toward the safe, saying, "My money? No, not my money." But before he could open the safe, the firefighters rushed in and pulled him out of the smoke-filled room. One of the firefighters said, "We have to leave. The whole building is on fire. Just cooperate with us." As Mr. Roberts was leaving the burning building, he saw the flames climbing the walls and thick smoke rising to the ceiling. He looked sadly at the tongues of fire devouring his beloved cafe. Everything vanished in the blink of an eye. The safe, the luxurious equipment, the imported furniture, and the money all burned and turned to ashes. He angrily said to his workers, "How did this happen? Someone explain to me how my cafe caught fire." Mr. Roberts looked at the firefighters as they worked hard to put out the flames. Within a few hours, his busy cafe had turned into burnt wreckage. He collapsed onto a nearby bench, watching everything he had built throughout his life turn to ashes. One of the workers apologized, saying, "We apologize for the inconvenience. There was a short circuit that we didn't notice." Mr. Roberts said tiredly, "Don't bother me. Just leave me alone." He put his head in his hands and completely broke down. The next morning, Mr. Roberts woke up to the warmth of the sun's rays gently caressing his chilled body. When his stomach started growling from hunger, he searched the pocket of his coat for some money to buy food, but he found nothing. He paused for a moment, feeling embarrassed, then gathered his courage and entered the nearby bakery, saying, "Excuse me, can you help me?" The bakery manager said, "Mr. Roberts, what are you doing here? In our little bakery? I heard your cafe burned down yesterday. Is everything all right?" Mr. Roberts said, "Please give me something to eat. I'm very hungry and in a really bad situation right now because I lost everything in the fire last night and I don't have any money to pay." The manager looked angrily as he examined the glass shelves, saying, "All right, here are the donuts and burgers left over from last night. We were about to throw them away, but don't expect us to do this every day." When Mr. Roberts left the bakery with a bag of leftovers, his words felt like a pile of bricks hitting him. It was hard for him to believe that a day like this would come, and as he was about to eat another burger, he saw the homeless man he had kicked out of his cafe. The day before, Mr. Roberts ran toward him saying, "Sorry, yesterday I couldn't help you. I don't know how to say this, but I'm in a tough situation today too. Would you like to share my breakfast with me?" The homeless man smiled sadly and said, "Thank you. My name is Freddy, and I won't forget your help. I used to run a grocery store in a nearby city, and I was very rich. I didn't need anything else. When poor people came to me, I didn't help them. Instead, I used to kick them out of my store. But fate brought me here to pay my debts. I sold my house and everything I owned, and my life turned upside down." Upside down? Mr. Roberts put his hand on Freddy's shoulder and said, "I'm sorry to hear that, Freddy." He added, "I shouldn't have refused to help you that way yesterday. I apologize for that." As the days passed, Mr. Roberts began to watch his life fall apart, leaving him without a home. The two men decided to stay together, and Freddy took Mr. Roberts to the homeless shelter. Freddy said, "I know the first few months can be tough here. It was the same for me at first, but I learned how to adapt. I expect you'll get used to it soon." Mr. Roberts sighed deeply, regretting the miserable living conditions in the shelter. He had to live and share a room with the people he used to despise. He realized he would have to sleep on a bunk bed and stand in line to use the bathroom. He hated his life, but he had no other choice. The next morning, Mr. Roberts rushed into the shelter unexpectedly, his eyes still wet, saying, "You won't believe what happened." Freddy said, "What's going on, Mr. Roberts? Where have you been?" "Since this morning," Mr. Roberts said excitedly. "I was outside trying to accomplish something, and what was the result? I spoke with the owner of a fancy restaurant on the way, and he decided to hire both of us." Freddy said in surprise, "A job? Are you serious?" Mr. Roberts said with a broad smile, "Yes, he agreed to give us another chance after I told him about our experience. Get ready quickly, because we're starting today." Freddy paid attention to what Mr. Roberts said, and after changing his clothes, the two men left the shelter. Freddy said, "I've been looking for a job, but I haven't been successful. How did you manage to do that in just one day?" Mr. Roberts laughed and said, "I just focused on that. My friend, I had to struggle for a fair deal for both of us. But in the end, I succeeded. This will help us recover everything we've lost, but it will go on, and we'll be sinking a lot of time and effort into it. Do you agree with me on that? Over time, Mr. Roberts and Freddie did their best in their new jobs as a cleaner and dishwasher at the restaurant, and their efforts paid off after several months when they were promoted to chef and manager at the same branch. Mr. Roberts paid off his debts and quickly moved from the shelter to a rented apartment with his friend Freddie. One day, while they were discussing some changes to the menu, the restaurant owner approached them with a serious face, saying, "I've been thinking about how to give back to the community and help those in need, but I'm not sure how to do it." Mr. Roberts and Freddie exchanged a curious look, and Mr. Roberts said, "Why don't we distribute the leftovers to the food truck at the end of this street instead of throwing them away? This way, we get a chance to help the homeless and those in need." The restaurant owner said enthusiastically, "That's a great idea, Mr. Roberts. Let's do it." So, in the following weeks, Mr. Roberts and Freddie teamed up with the restaurant owner to launch their project, Love the Leftovers, Free Meals on Wheels. Mr. Roberts said as they watched a group of happy homeless people enjoying their meals outside the food truck, "This is just the beginning. We have to do more to help these people." Freddie sighed and said, "Yes, there's a lot to do because they deserve better. At least one full meal a day."